Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, I'll be doing a review and how to play video on the board game Tavern Masters, so let's get into it. Alright, well first we'll dive into the game so you have a better idea on how it works, and I'll go into my review after that. So Tavern Masters is a game in a fantasy setting where you take on the role of different Tavern Masters in attempts to win the coveted award of Tavern of the Year. And on top of that, you'll use your winnings to help pay off an orc warlord to prevent them from destroying the city. And so there's a couple different modes that you can play the game in. There's a competitive mode, a cooperative mode, and then also solo mode. All of the modes, though, play pretty much the same way, so we'll go through the basics of how you play the game, and then I'll jump into my review after that. So to start the game off, it's pretty simple. You'll have one player be designated as the server, or the first player, and then all players are going to start with 3 gold, and then you'll start the game by drafting your starting hands. And so how this works is you'll take the Tavern deck and deal each player 4 cards. In this case, we'll be playing a 2-player game. And then what you'll do at this point is that each player is going to take 1 card of their choosing and put that into their hand, and then they'll pass the hand to the other player. So again, you have various different drinks that you might start with, games in your bar, maybe wenches, specialty drinks, and more. And so again, you'll just take one, pass it on to the next player. The next player will look at the hand, decide what they want to keep, pass it on. Again, we just go back and forth. And so let's say we've done that now at this point. Now players are going to have their starting hand to work with. And so the game is broken up into different phases. So the first phase is the day phase, and this is where you're going to be able to hire staff for your bar, buy goods like food and drinks to have in your bar, and also set up things like games or hire entertainers as well. And so everyone actually takes their turn at the same time. So all players will start with the day phase. And so this being the first round, you'll have your starting hand. And now what you can do is that you can choose cards that you want to play. So cards often will have a higher cost if it's a staff, or if they're goods, like this bread here, you can purchase it for gold. So I've got 3 gold, so there's a couple things I can start with. Sometimes you might want to start with a drink. Sometimes you might want to have staff on hand to attract new patrons later in the game, whatever the case might be. And so I don't have any drinks right now, so let's say for example I want to use this jester, so it costs 3 gold as you can see here. So I'd spend my 3 gold and then put this out in my tavern. But one thing that's cool is that this is an entertainer type, so that's something to pay attention to. And then if I look at this serving wench here, I could either spend 1 gold to hire her, or if I have an entertainer, I could hire her. So I do have an entertainer, so I can actually put this card out for free now at this point. Since I'm out of gold, that's all I could do at this point. And again, like I said, all players play at the same time. So let's look at their hand and see what they want to do. So it looks like I've got a card for 1, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, and then 1 for 2. So let's say I want to have a couple different drinks right now. So I'll do the apple wine for 1, and then the dwarven mead for the 2 remaining gold that I have. So this player is going to play these 2 cards and have them out in front of them, and the rest of the cards just stay in your hand. So now that players have taken the actions that they can, we'll move on to the night phase. And so the night phase, patrons arrive at your taverns, and so each player will get 3 cards from the patron deck, and now players will be able to play cards based on what they have in their tavern. And so you'll look at cards and you'll see wants. And so if a patron wants something and you have it in your tavern, you can play that patron. Otherwise, they need to stay in your hand. So looking at this player's hand, it doesn't look like I can play anything because I don't have any ale yet. I don't have any wine yet in my tavern. So that's basically their turn, unfortunately. Let's look at the other player. So these gold cards are considered noble patrons, and they say it right on the card there. And so noble patrons can't actually be played unless you have some card that's out in your tavern that you've played that says you can play noble patrons. This player doesn't have any, so at this point I'm stuck with not being able to play those. But this regular patron wants mead, and I've got dwarven mead out, so I can actually play that card. And now I have a patron in my tavern. So once players have played all their patrons, you're going to move on to the counting the till phase. And so how this works is for each patron you have, you earn 1 gold. So in this case, this player has 1 patron, so he'll earn 1 gold. You also want to look at the different text listed on each card because sometimes they grant extra abilities. So in this case, it says gain 1 gold each round if you have any mead patrons in your tavern. Well, I do have a mead patron, I've got this mercenary, so I'd get an extra gold. This player doesn't actually have any patrons right now, so they don't earn any gold. At this point, once players have collected gold from the patrons in their tavern, you need to discard patrons if there isn't something in your tavern that they like. So again, if I look at this mercenary, they like games, and at this point my tavern doesn't have any games, so I'm going to have to discard them. If I were to have games in my tavern, I could actually keep that patron in my tavern, which would increase my gold that next round. Now at this point, all players will need to discard down to 5 cards if they don't already have 5 or less cards, and then you'll move on to the next round. And so in the competitive version of the game, rounds don't really matter, it's just the first player to get to 20 gold wins. But if you're playing cooperative, you would have decided on a round that you're going to play to, and players need to each reach 20 gold before that round happens. And then if you're doing solo play, it works pretty much the same way, where you choose how many rounds you're going to play up front, and then you need to get 20 gold before that end of the round, otherwise you lose. So let's move on to the second round, as it works very similar to the first round. And at this point, all players will get 3 tavern cards. And now you're in the day phase. And again, each players take their turn at the same time. So unfortunately, this player on the left right now doesn't have any gold, so I can't actually play any of these items right now. So they can't really do anything. But we'll look at this other player and see what they have. So I've got 2 gold I could use, so I could potentially get this chessboard. This entertainer here likes any wine, so I have that. So I can actually put that out for free, which is awesome. And then I can look at the other items and see what I want. This card allows me to hire staff for 1 less gold each. And then this one again is a game. So if I happen to have people that like games, I could potentially get them to stick around and get these added bonuses. So at this point, I might buy that game and put that in my tavern. During this phase, you can also trade with other players. And one thing to note, if you trade with another player, where the card came from is where it has to go. So for example, if I traded this apple wine that I already played for a wench, they could swap and both be still played at the same time. However, if I wanted to trade my dragon's breath for gold or one of the cards the other player has, we would trade it in our hands and still have to pay gold or whatever the case might be to play that card. Again, once the trading is done, you've finished hiring staff and purchasing goods, you'll move on to the next phase. Players will get 3 patron cards again from the patron deck. So again, I look at what things I have. I'll see if they want to be played. So again, this mercenary wants mead, so I can play that because I have it. And then this patron wants any drink, so I can play that. This thief likes ale. I don't have that, so I can't play them. And I still don't have anything to play noble patrons, so I'll have to pass at this point. We'll look at these cards, and it actually looks like this one wants any entertainer, and I do have an entertainer, so I can play that now. But these 2 cards want drinks, which I don't have yet for this player, so I can't play them. At this point, I'll go through and see all the patrons that I have. If there's any abilities I want to activate, now that they're out, I can do so. And then once both players have finished using any of their patron abilities, you'll go through again to the counting the till phase. And again, you'll get 1 gold for each patron that you have. Read your card abilities to see if there's any extra bonuses that you get. For example, this one lets me gain 1 gold for any mead patron, which I have. And then this one just lets me get 1 gold. And then this allows me to get 1 gold for each patron that likes entertainers. So nobody likes the entertainers right now, so I just stick with the 1 gold. And so again, you'll just play round after round like this until one player reaches that 20 gold mark, and then they win the game. If both players happen to reach 20 gold within the same round, the player that wins is the player that has the most total gold, and if it's still a tie, you'll do an additional round to determine the winner. Other than that, that's basically how you play Tavern Masters. There's a couple additional rules that you can check out for more clarification in the rulebook. If you do have questions, or feel free to leave a comment below this video. But now that you have a better idea on how the game works, let's jump into my review and how I feel about it. Well, now that you have a better idea on how to play the game, how do I actually feel about it? Well, I'm definitely a big fan of Tavern Masters. It's a fun, quick game to play that doesn't take a lot of time to learn, and I think it has an incredibly high replay value with the game as well. It definitely has a cool fantasy setting. I like the artwork on the cards. the items they chose to include, and really the overall feel of the game. I think the theme of the game fits well. It really does feel like you're trying to build a successful tavern as you play. And I feel like the gameplay is very similar whether you're playing in co-op mode, competitive mode, or even solo mode. So I think however you want to enjoy and play this game, you'll definitely have a lot of fun. Now the game itself isn't a deck builder per se, but I kind of got that feel to it when I played as well. And that's definitely one of my favorite genres of board games. And so I really like how it works when you start off the game. You have a few base cards that you have to work with. You've got a few gold coins that you can buy some initial inventory or hire some staff. And then it's up to you to evolve your strategy as the various patrons come to your bar and you get more goods and drinks. Your strategy will evolve to help you maximize your return on investment as you play the game. And so I really like it. No two games really feel like they're the same. A lot of times you might feel like you're in the lead early on and end up losing, and vice versa. You might feel really behind, but you get a few good cards. You get the ideal patrons coming in, and things can shift rather quickly as you play. I also like that all the players play basically at the same time, so it doesn't really make the game take any longer if you have additional players. And so I think that's really fun too, where it's not something that's going to take you hours if you add 4, 5, or 6 players. It's still a pretty quick game to get through. You know, obviously, like I said, every game is different. Sometimes we finished in, 3 or 4 rounds. Other times it went 5 or 6 rounds. And then it ended in a tie and we had to do a bonus round, right? And so I think the game is really fun. It's different every time you play. It has a high replay value. It's quick to learn and set up and play, and it's a lot of fun. On top of that, there's a bunch of different expansions for the game out right now. So if you like this base game, you can add more to it for even more additional fun. Overall though, I had a lot of fun playing Tavern Masters, and I definitely recommend adding it to your nerd library. But let me know in the comments below if you think this game looks fun, if you've played it before. What genre would you put this category of game in? Because I really enjoyed it and I'd love to check out more games like it. Let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button as it really helps out the channel. And subscribe if you haven't, and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. If you'd like to pick up a copy of this game and some of the expansions, there'll be links in the description below where you can do so. And if you'd like to help us support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And if you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, you can follow us on Twitch at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.